This coming Sunday marks 5 years since the marathon bombings, killed 3 people and wounded hundreds more. 3 days after that initial attack, the 2 men responsible, the Tsarnaev brothers, shot and killed 27-year-old MIT police officer Sean Collier as he sat in his patrol car, and then ended up in a gun battle in Watertown with police when they tried to arrest the pair. MBTA officer Dic Donohue was hit by friendly fire and nearly bled to death. A year later, Boston police officer Dennis Simmons died of injuries apparently sustained in the Watertown shootout as well. This Wednesday, he, Sean Collier, Crystal Campbell, Lu Ling-ji, and Martin Richard will all be honored, along with the many survivors, at the Stronger After 5 celebration in Boston, the proceeds of which will all go to the Sean Collier Memorial Fund. Now joined by Sean Collier's sister, Jennifer Lemmerman. It's great to meet you, Jen. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
Dic Donohue, the man I mentioned a minute ago, who's now on his way to a doctorate in criminal justice. Well, you're getting there, right? Little by little. And retired Watertown Police Chief Ed Deveau. Ed, it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Obviously, all of your lives changed dramatically 5 years ago in different ways and in different degrees. Jen, starting with you, do you feel that the world is divided into 2 kinds of people? Those like you who felt the impact directly, and all the rest of us who feel like we're resilient and Boston strong but can never really understand. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. I think that for us, maybe those of us who are directly impacted, our experience of it is divided a little bit. I feel like I have the very public story and the very public image of Sean that people know and have heard about, and then I have my little brother and all my memories of growing up with him. And so I think for me, it feels a little divided.
A lot of people, I think, forget, Dic, that you knew Sean, and you knew Sean quite well. You were at the academy together. Tell us a little bit about him.
Fun-loving guy. Anytime I told my wife that I was going to get together with Sean, especially on the weekends, she would get immediately angry. So that's when you know you have a really good friend. But, he was a dedicated public servant, always wanted to be a cop, and, paid his own way through the academy. And, we had lots of conversations on the way in and out of the academy, and, formed a great friendship, not only as police brothers, but as friends.
When people learned about Dic and obviously heard about Sean, it seems to me, again, as a person who was outside this loop, that respect for what people like they did exploded in the most positive of ways. Does that last, or does that disappear? I mean, because we all see the headlines now about cops and that sort, but that was like this moment where it seemed to me that almost everybody respected what you do and what your brother did. Is that ephemeral? Does that go away?
I think it goes in waves, but that was just an incredible time. But I think in Greater Boston we have a great relationship with police. In Boston, police sets the tone, but all the cities and towns do so much community policing. I always said it was my proudest day in law enforcement, how law enforcement came. We were in trouble, and we know that every critical incident, you don't have enough help in the beginning and then you have too much at the end, kind of. But, we had 2 guys in a shootout, first time in America, cops are being shot at and having bombs thrown at them, and it's Watertown. And then by the end of the day, we had over 2,000 people that tried to come and help us. And then it was over, as you say, the streets were lined. I came out, I just want to get home to my family, and I come out to Mount Auburn Street, and there's thousands of people waving American flags, supporting the police and law enforcement and everything that had done. So, yeah, but...
And while people who run police departments like him may not like this, there was huge self-deployment by cops because they cared so much about what had happened on Boyle Street and in Cambridge, right? Is that...
I mean, absolutely. You saw it happen, and you know what? The intentions were in the right place, and every time there's an incident like this, or any critical incident, as Ed alluded to, you take lessons, you learn lessons from them, and the only thing you can do is improve. And
what do you think you learned? What do you think? I don't mean you individually, but you collectively, who do what you did for a living. What did you learn that should be passed along? So
one of the things that actually has already been implemented is some of that tactical combat casualty care, things like carrying tourniquets and quick clot. So you're not stuck at an incident, whether it be even a car wreck or a terrorist bombing, and you don't have the tools on you to help get people to the hospital or help stem the bleeding right away. And now that's certainly come to fruition in this area, and I think that even going around the country and seeing that at other departments, it has certainly become a part because of the things that we lacked here back in 2013.
I can hear that doctorate in there somewhere. Can I seize on what Dic did a minute ago? One of the many horrible parts about what your family has to live through is we all know how your brother died, and we only know little snippets about how he lived. So take a second and tell us a little bit about him, something we might not know about Sean Collier.
Oh, wow. I think Sean was someone who, he took his job obviously very seriously. He wanted to be a police officer from the time he knew what the job was. But I think what people might not have realized when they hear about that side of it was he also was just a fun guy, and Dic mentioned that a little bit. He just always was looking for a way to connect with people and just have a good time, and I think that's what drew people to him.
In my understanding from reading about what the Memorial Fund does, it seizes on a lot of what mattered to him, including volunteerism and that sort of thing, yes?
Yeah, that's right. We have sort of 3 buckets of organizations that we support through the fund, and they are focused on 3 things that were really important to Sean. So the first is law enforcement, and particularly those who have been killed in the line of duty and supporting their families. The second is supporting the next generation of law enforcement through scholarships of lots of students who are going into law enforcement, studying criminal justice. And then the third was more about what Sean did kind of in his spare time, which was community involvement, kids who, getting experiences that maybe their circumstances wouldn't normally allow them to have, and we support them to do those things.
And also, from what I understand, that latter category is also to try to build relations of trust between people who do what these guys have done in their lives and what your brother did and those kids, right, who sometimes aren't so trusting at all.
Yeah, a good example is we do support the Boston Strong basketball tournament, which is police officers and kids from local communities just playing basketball together and seeing police officers in this different way.
Stronger after 5 is the thing. Are we stronger after 5 as a society here, are we?
Absolutely. I think if you look across the board, not just us sitting here, but take the circle of us and go all throughout the city and throughout the region, and this was a tragic event. Make no doubt about it. You read off some names earlier, and then there were hundreds of other people affected, and then you look at what some of these people have done afterwards, and it's been amazing. And it hasn't been done alone. There's been so much support around us, and it's for me, just being able to take away so many of the positives over the last 5 years, and as well as being able to invite people out for a good time, for a good cause, and recognize them for their hard work and say thank you.
I want just the last minute we have, I want to seize on the third thing that Jim mentioned, that thing about using some of these funds to help create greater trust between young kids who are sometimes sketchy about a cop. That's huge. Is it not?
Absolutely. And, I think that's the benefit that we're able to do. I think, you said, were we divided, a little bit? No. I think the one fund brought this whole city together, and it helped all the survivors. But you look at and we were all close in different ways. And how many foundations have been stood up? Heather Abbott and what she does, Celeste Cochran and Patrick and Jess. All the things that they're given back. These people could have. Lives could have went a different way, and now the resiliency, and it's all supported by all the people in Greater Boston, and it's just remarkable, Jim, what I see day in and day out, how people rally around each other.
You said it beautifully, Ed. Thanks so much. Jen, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much. Good luck with the event, Dic. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the 3rd kid. Ed, it's good to see you. Thanks so much. Again, the Stronger After 5 celebration is this Wednesday, 6 to 8 at Ned Devine's in Faneuil Hall, Boston. You can find more information on our website. Please go there, greaterboston.org.